Hey. So over the last couple of days, I have been inundated with Topaz Photo AI advertisements. I don't know why, but essentially they're targeting me because probably I look at photographs and reviews of different pieces of software for photography. Now, for the people who don't know what Topaz Photo AI is, it is essentially a piece of software that you can buy that promises three distinct tools, essentially, that's combined into one piece of software. The first thing is that it promises to reduce noise for very noisy images. The second is enlargement of low-resolution images. And the third is recovery of motion blur or out-of-focus pictures. Now, obviously, because the advertisement is designed to be an advertisement, it promises essentially miracles. And in this video, we're going to find out if that's actually the case or whether it is absolutely a load of bullcrap. So if you want to find out if the software is good, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's talk about this thing. Welcome back to the rant. So the way I'm going to test it is first and foremost, I'm not going to use any kind of stock images. I'm going to test it out by using my own images that I've essentially practically destroyed. Now, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to go out and essentially take photographs at maximum ISO and use program auto so that the camera will figure out the aperture and shutter speed. The only thing I'm interested in is I want to essentially create an environment or create a situation where every single one of my images is being shot at the worst possible noise level. And then, it's like throw away every technique known to man for shooting good photos, right? And so we're going to go out and we're going to take high maximum ISO, which is, I believe, on my A7 IV is 51,200. And let's just see, whether or not this software can recover it and how well it can recover it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to compare those ones with, I guess, lesser horrible images and see whether or not it's actually a good tool for everyday photographers when obviously you've shot the images quite well but you're wanting a little bit more, refining it a little bit more using artificial intelligence. So let's get out there and take some photos. All right. So I've stopped at one of our beautiful parks here in Canberra, and I want to talk about, first and foremost, some of the gear that I'm using right now, just so you guys kind of have a baseline on what is taking the images, etc., so you can kind of make a informed comparison. So I'm shooting on a Sony Alpha 7 IV with a 16-35 f4 PZ lens. Now, I don't even get me started. The f4 16-35, the new PZ lens, is one of my absolute favorite lenses. And if you want a review on that, definitely let me know down in the comment. But that's kind of the gear that we'll be shooting with. And I'm kind of curious as to how this thing will turn out. Honestly, it's like one of those things where I'm like, shooting at 51,200, what could go wrong? Let's check this one out. This is kind of a nice spot. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to be honest. I very quickly ran into a problem that I thought I would have enough of leeway with, whether it's both aperture and shutter speed, to kind of capture things at a proper exposure. But at 51,200, I'll be honest, because I never usually shoot with that ISO. Yeah, f22 8,000 shutter speed is not. It doesn't reduce enough light in order for us to get some proper exposure. However, I guess that's not really the point, is it? We're shooting at 51,200. We're going to get some insane noise in the images, and we're just trying to figure out whether or not Photo AI can do the job and clean it up and kind of make it even remotely acceptable. Now, I guess with the entire thing around AI, in my head, a more important conversation, apart from whether or not, Topaz Photo AI can do the job, is actually like the concept of AI within photography. And we've seen kind of the rise of AI models, right? That you can kind of generate images. And, is a photograph technically still a photograph if you use AI to alter it? Now, I think that, that discussion I don't think has a proper answer, primarily because I guess someone can argue that it's an expression of a certain image, or are we to say that a way to shoot, a certain way of shooting an image or altering an image is not photography? If you were to say that, using photo AI is not good, then does that mean Photoshop is also does not qualify as potential photography, or using a tool to use in photography? So really, in my head, there's not really a good way of cutting the cake. And so for me, the way that I kind of treated it was more like, I think the art of photography, taking images with a camera, I think it's all fair, fair game. It really is up to the person and up to, I guess, the requirements of the project, whether or not it's acceptable or not. Now, actually, I'm looking over here, and I think this is quite a nice photo. Let's see. Don't criticize the photos, by the way, because I'm literally going to the park and just seeing what images I can take. So this is by no means a demonstration of great composition, etc., etc. I just want to see whether or not we can take some nice images. So I just had a quick peek at the previews to see what we're dealing with, and who would have thunk that shooting at 51,200 ISO and overexposing, because an f/22 and a 1/8000th of a second shutter speed can compensate for that kind of signal boosting, doesn't turn out pretty good out of the camera. I couldn't help it, but I had to take a peek at the previews, and it was soft focus. It was really freaking noisy, as you would expect, shooting at that kind of ranges. Now, I wonder, and I've been thinking about what I would expect AI to do for the photos. And honestly, in my opinion, if I were to use an AI program, I would probably use it for the denoiser, right? I don't really, of all the features, I had to look at the features of Topaz Photo AI, and I'm not so much interested in the sharpening tool, right? The one where it changes, it tries to recover blurry images. And I'm not really interested in the gigapixel portion of it, where it'll make your photos bigger than what it actually is, primarily because the A7 IV already kind of shoots quite a decent megapixel image. But it's really the denoiser, which I think it's the Topaz denoise, I think is what they call it. And I'm really interested to see how it deals with really artifacty images that comes out of straight to camera. So I think that's about that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it back into my computer, and let's see what happens when we import the raw straight into the program and see the magic that it has. So I guess let's go back to the computer. All right, so we're back in the studio, and I've loaded up 3 images onto Topaz Photo AI. Now, I'm not going to be covering all the images that I've shown in the previous clips. I've just selected 2 of the ones that I kind of liked from my little outing, and then I've selected one other image that I took over in the United States that was actually very noisy, because we were in a very dimly lit forest, and I was using my telephoto lens, my 200 to 600 with a 2x teleconverter. So obviously with a teleconverter, what's light, right? So I want to do 2 from the walk and 1 image from the US. So this is the first image that I have here. And on the left, just for clarification, left is what it is, or the photograph that I took. And on the right is the AI corrected image. Now what I want to do here is looking through this right-hand panel, which has kind of got all of the settings. I really want to, I'm going to put them all on, and essentially, well, we're not going to use enhanced resolution. I'm just going to use raw remove noise and also sharpen and see what we get. Now, on first glance, what I'm going to do is I'm really interested in this middle portion right here. And let's zoom in, because I know for a fact that the trees on the raw was really lacking detail. And you know what? In first look, I mean, it's kind of got a bit of a green hue to it. Let's look around this platform right here, because I knew I saw the previews, like I was saying, very, very noisy. And look at 51,200 ISO, where you can literally see the artifacting on the trees, and then you see kind of the after. That's actually pretty good. Now we have raw remove noise. Try to say that 3 times. Raw remove noise. What if we go normal instead of strong? Okay, so their preview update, it kind of has it softens it a little bit, but it feels less artifacty, or less, I guess. This is pixel peeping, like you're zooming in, right? Okay, and then let's try strong. Okay, so you really do get some sharpening. Can you see that? You're really getting quite a decent amount of sharpening and detail on those leaves. Okay, that's pretty impressive. I'll leave it on strong. I'll leave it on strength 1. Let's just see what happens if I go strength 100. Who knows? Okay. I don't see a lot of difference. So if I go strength 1, what about strength 50? I think it feels more artificial at strength 50. Honestly, if we go strong, raw remove noise at strength 1, detail 16, let's bring that all the way up to 100. Let's just see what that does. Okay, all right. That absolutely destroys that image. Okay, so obviously you don't want to go there. What if we reduce the detail a little bit? Okay, I think the sweet spot is around about that 16 mark, where it kind of adds a decent amount of detail, but it doesn't make it feel artificial, which is kind of what we want. Okay, and then I'm not going to enhance resolution, primarily because I'm already happy with the resolution of the A7 IV. So let's keep it like that. Good. So let's move on to the next one. On the left, is you can see 51,200 f/22 at 1/8,000th of a second. Incredibly noisy, insane amount of artifacts. This is the autopilot settings, but what we want to do is I'll take over from autopilot. So autopilot is just, auto, essentially. It detects the image and it sets it as it thinks you should set it. But for us, what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of sharpening. We're going to do this one and just standard sharpening right there. Raw remove noise, I feel like, let's just see, because it almost kind of softens on the right hand side here, if you can see that. Those edges, it kind of becomes, it almost looks like a bit like film, interestingly enough. What about normal? Let's go normal. Removing noise. Normal, and then what about strong? Normal, strong. It's small difference, but it's actually pretty decent in my opinion. I mean, you go from that, that noise right there where it's literally, it's super noisy, and then you kind of get a fairly good image right there, Sharpen, let's just leave it at that, I feel, because did it detect a subject? Because, okay. So part of the Topaz Photo AI is you can also mask out a particular subject. So if you just want the AI to kind of do a certain portion of the image, you can definitely do that. But for this one, I'm going to go none and see what happens. No subjects. I just want to sharpen the entire image. Okay. So there's definitely some the autopilot settings are actually quite good, because if we go default, okay, so let me show you what I saw here. So without a subject, you see over here, you kind of get a little bit of like some weird textures going on around there. But if I were to select the subject and then just put it back on default, which is this is the mask that it decided to do, then when it reprocesses that, it doesn't have that, or maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Let me just see one more time. Refined, none, and then let's just see. It could be. I'm just probably seeing the thing. Yeah, it's about the same, I think. Now that I look at it again, that's actually pretty good. Now let's go out. Let's fit the entire image and let's just see what it is. Because I actually did quite like this shot. It's just hella noisy. So you can see on the bottom left corner here, it's removing the noise. It's doing all that stuff. It's sharpening now. And then when it's finished, we'll get to see it change on this right-hand side. What? Okay. What? Look at that. That is insane. Okay. All right. Let's save my conclusions for later. That's fine. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, sweet. Now let's go to the third image, and which is the photo that I took over in Muir Woods, I believe in San Francisco in California. So it's subject detected. Okay, so sweet. So look at that. If I highlight subject, it says, well, it's the bird that you want, obviously. Sweet. That's pretty clever. And then we got raw remove noise. Let's zoom in on this bird very quickly. You can change right here. Okay. It's actually a nice photo, in my opinion. It was very, very far, obviously. But it was just really dark, and at f6, f6.3, I think it was 12,800 ISO. And because I had to bring up the shutter speed, these guys moved very quickly. So I was on shutter priority 1/500th of a second to make sure that I can get some, I don't get any motion blur, but that was obviously I paid for it using ISO. That is pretty ridiculous. What if we added some sharpening on this thing? And then, okay, let's just zoom in even more. I'm interested to see what it does to the feathers right here. That is pretty good. Now, let's go 400 times. 400%, sorry. That is pretty impressive. So you can see, remove the noise. It added some detail, fake or not. There's still detail that you're not going to see when you zoom out. And that is pretty freaking good. So let's, if we go 50%, right? So this is probably what I would crop it to. Let's just see what it does there. Sharpening now. Preview. What? Hold up. That is pretty insane, actually. It's like there's no noise in the background. And then obviously from this crop, there's a lot. Wow. Okay. So let's save that, and then let's save that, then in processing and saving. So, conclusion time. Oh my goodness. So is Photo AI worth it, or is it a dud, and is it kind of fake? Based on, look, I went full crazy on the ISO, 51,000, no, is a 51,200 ISO, and shot the images outside. It was hella noisy, and it was able to recover it to a level that I actually think is pretty impressive. Now it saves as a DNG, so you can take it over to your raw processor, your photo processor like Photoshop or Capture One or Lightroom, and then you'll be able to start from a really good clean slate and then do your edits on those programs. It's really good. You saw the difference between incredibly noisy for images, and then it just took them away. And it also added a lot of pretty, I would say, reasonable detail back into the images. It's not like creating some fake texture. I guess it is creating fake textures, but it didn't do it like, it doesn't look fake. When you zoom out and you look at the entire image as a whole, it actually looks pretty freaking good. So, in conclusion, I think Topaz Photo AI, despite it feeling a bit like witchcraft and promising miracles, it actually kind of does miracles. That is really freaking impressive. And it's, oh my goodness. I've generally never been, I've never really jumped into these kinds of fab, but this is legit. So if you want to if you're thinking of buying Topaz AI, look, it's got limitations like everything else, but is it a great tool to have just in case for you need that extra headroom? Hell freaking yeah. And Topaz, I'm a small YouTuber. If you want to sponsor some videos, let me know. But last thing, let's just have a look at the DNGs. So this is the sharpen, this is Topaz, and this is the raw. Topaz raw, and even does some lens correction. That's impressive. That's the sharpen, and then this is the raw. Wow, look at that. There's even like some purpling, pinking hue on the bottom there, and then it just get removed. Wow, this is the Topaz, and this is the raw. Look at that. Wow. Okay. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it, and I hope you let me know in the comments if you decide to end up buying Topaz Photo AI, and let me know if it actually helps you save some of your images. So yeah, that's the video. See ya.